I think one thing we can all agree on is that no one can fully understand dreams. The only thing we can really make out for sure is that everybody has them. Whether they be normal dreams, nightmares, reoccurring dreams, dreams with a bigger meaning, dreams with no meaning, and just that in general. We don't know that much about dreams, and there's no real master of dreams. There are certain pieces of knowledge that people have about said dreams, but no one can really fully understand dreams completely, in my opinion. However, dreams can also affect us in our physical life. They can make us feel uneasy. They can make us think other ways of life or other routes to a certain path. But sometimes it's not just a dream, but the contents within that dream. Sometimes even manifestations of your own imagination. So today for this video, I'm going to go over 6 monsters I've seen in my dreams that I still think about to this day. Why 6? Because it's kind of hard for me to really remember some other creatures I've seen in my past within my dreams. They say the best time to remember your dreams is within the first 7 seconds when you wake up. So, as you can tell, it's probably hard to really pinpoint certain manifestations of my own imagination that have come from literally dozens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of dreams, when I can barely even remember how the entire dream goes. Also, there aren't that many creatures within my dreams that bother me, so there isn't really a big number. Also, I'll be giving my own illustrations of each and every creature, just so you have an idea of what they look like as I explain what they are and how they affected me within a dream. Welcome to the top 6 monsters in my dreams. Feel free to make your own list, or put your own dreams or creatures within your dreams within the comments down below. And if you feel like there are bigger meanings to whatever I'm going to have to say within this list, you can also put that in the comments if you feel inclined. I hope you all enjoy. You guys know my black lab, Jake, right? We've had him since 2004, and that's when I first moved to Pennsylvania when I was 8 years old. And we've had him for, let's say, 11 years, and he was already 2 at that point in time, so right now he's 13. Well, back when I was little, when we first got Jake, he was a good companion, but I remember a certain dream I've had, where the house I lived in at the moment was possessed by some kind of ghost. There was a girl just keep whispering, "Listen, listen," and I got scared, so I tried to hide under the bed. Now, my bed is kind of hard to go under, or was, because that's the bed I used to have, because it kind of curves inward from the side, so that's the only part I could go into. And from that curve, there were many little Hess trucks, you know, those little collectible trucks for toys, and sometimes adults collect them so that they can sell them in the future when they're worth more, or sometimes kids get them just to play with them. Me, I was kind of in between, because I was just little at that point in time. I could have played with them, but I also kept them in case I could have sold them. Unfortunately, we don't have them anymore, so I can't really sell them now. But when I went under the bed, they all started going off on their own. Their lights, their little turbines, and whatever. And then all of a sudden, a big bang, as the girl shouted, "Listen!" And all of a sudden, they all started going crazy. I stood up because I was so scared, and then I saw Jake right at the door. But he was different. Teeth were so enlarged that they were bursting out of his mouth. His eyes were widened, and his pupils were so small you could barely point them out, but you could tell that they were looking in 2 separate directions, but not directly at you. The only eye that was a third eye attached to some kind of antenna that was staring directly into your eyes. Also, it looked like there was something scraggly or deformed about him, and something wrong with his tail. I don't know, it felt like there was something at the end of it. This really did bother me, but to be honest, nowadays, it's not really a good design for horror. Let me explain. I mean, I was never intimidated by Jake at all in my life. Jake was always a good friend of mine. It was kind of like a brother I've never had. So, never in my life, even with that dream, I was never afraid of Jake. But at the time, the design kind of freaked me out. Nowadays, more like, say, 2011, when I got more used to horror, I'm not really as scared of designs like that as much as I used to. I'm more into complex designs, and that's kind of the stuff that gets me sometimes. And that design is kind of a little... It was scary for a kid, but kind of cliche for a normal design. This monster appears in the same dream as the next monster within my list, and it's been coming from a reoccurring dream that I've had. I told you guys about this within a video I had called A Reoccurring Dream. Some people said that there was a bigger purpose to it, something about like a bent of reality. I'm just like, what? This creature came at the beginning of the dream. It was a 4-foot tall baby doll with no pupils on its eyes, and it looked like everything was just pouring out of every piece you could. Every joint, there was just some kind of black, bloody substance pouring from it, but all dried up. And it always waddled when it runs, but it was incredibly fast, considering it always waddled. Probably because of its size, because it was, let's say, 4 feet tall. In the beginning of the dream, it was kind of like a replay of many different horror game deaths, but instead I was the one that was being killed. Some of them were random creatures that I made up. Some of them are creatures I've seen before, like one time the Slender Man I believe I saw in the dream. Let's see, Chris Walker from Outlast. But most of them were more based on maybe my own fears. The last one that came before the next part of the dream, which I don't want to explain because we'd be here all day, was a 4-foot-tall baby doll that chased me. When it grabbed me by the leg, it made sure I didn't fall. And what it did, well, some of you may cringe or laugh, maybe considering your gender, but it literally bit my dick off and said, and I quote,
Tastes like cream filling.
Some of you probably snickering or cringing by the thought of a giant baby doll biting your dick off. And it was not a good experience for me. Let's just say this thing was just not fun. And to be honest, when it comes to horror, the only thing that kind of gets me is when children are involved. I honestly don't know why. The second creature that came from the same dream didn't really physically harm me, but it was just disturbing. Inside the recurring dream video, I mentioned the city, a place that's always at the end of the dream, and every time I learned something new about it. One particular time within that dream, I was in a hotel, but the hotel, all of its walls, floors, and ceilings were made out of just wooden planks. And when you go to the rooms, there was only the door you get inside, and a single window, and the only things within each room are a blanket, pillow, and a TV that would always be static. At night, I was laying on the floor inside the blanket. I saw this random blue sliver came into the ground. It looked like it was definitely a pill or something you could take. It was, even though it was extremely long, you could like eat it like a spaghetti noodle, I guess. And it looked like a blue version of the cell that people describe as Ebola. And then at the window was a white mannequin head with nothing on his face. You could see indents, but that's it. And all I kept repeating was, "Don't leave, forget everything, just sleep. Don't leave, forget everything, just sleep. Don't leave, forget everything, just sleep. Don't leave, forget everything, just sleep." This is a creature that I thought I designed on my own, but considering that it came in my dreams, I guess I did design it on my own. But I feel like it's kind of lower in quality when you take inspiration from your dreams instead of just thinking of a design right then and there. That's just the way I see it, though. Well, for me anyway. For when it comes to other people, I congratulate them, and I think it's clever, but for some reason when it's me, I always feel like I shouldn't do that. But this design came from a dream, but I didn't realize it when I was designing the monster. I call him Umbrella Man, mainly because his main torso or body was in the shape of an umbrella. I all of a sudden remembered him within a dream while I was designing him, because and the only reason I forgot was because I saw him for only like 2 frames of the dream. He was in kind of like the corner top of a ceiling inside a room, screeching, like his main torso acted like a suction cup, even though that'd be kind of impossible, because as you could see, each and every part of his torso has a hole through it, so you can kind of see through his body, so it couldn't really act like a suction cup. Its skin was kind of an orange-brownish color, not like a different race, but like the skin was so dried up it appeared as that color. It also looked like it had cracks all over the arms, and the holes were a result of the skin being so dry. The arms and head are 2 times the size of a normal human's head or arm, and it always had this weird screech to it with white glowing eyes. I always kind of liked the design, so that's why I'm not really as intimidated by it, but that's also why it's number 3, because I just like the look of it. It didn't really bother me too much because it didn't really do that much within the dream, but it still influenced something nonetheless. This has to be the earliest monster I've thought of in my dreams. I call him the Man in Black. It was back in elementary school before I even got Jake. I believe I was in a new elementary school at that point in time. That elementary school was in the shape of a square, and I was on the opposite side of the building where the office would be. So I was trying to run to the office. Yeah, as you can imagine, it was a straight route, just straight left and then straight left again, and it'll be right there. But why was I running? And why couldn't I just leave the building? All the exits were closed off. The entire building was deformed and decrepit. There was no one else inside the building except for the people in the office, and I guess that's who I was trying to run to. There was a man chasing me. You could tell, but like his black jeans, black gloves, and black beanie, you could probably think he's like a generic criminal or thief or something like that, but there was something else to him. He was covered in black bandages all over his body. You couldn't see a part of his skin anywhere. And not just that, no matter how much I ran, he always just seemed to catch up to me just by walking. And not just that, he always walked like missing a few steps as if he was drunk. When I went to the hallway of the office, I turned around and see him gone. But when I turned back around to look at the office, I saw him standing there. He got a gun and shot me in the chest, and yes, being a little kid, I couldn't imagine what a bullet wound would actually look like. So I moved my shirt a bit, because in dreams you can't feel pain, so I couldn't really react to it. I looked and saw what looked like the shape of a state of the United States pushed down into my skin. Literally, think of like the sides of a box, but like more sharp ends. And to use that box to take away a chunk of someone's skin, and have the end of the wound still have skin despite it being illogical. That's where the bones would be. But that's kind of what the wound looked like, except it had little scratches and small bits of blood coming out of it. I don't know why I thought a gun bullet wound would look like that. Just don't ask. All I can say is this thing is infamous, because I guess it's like the fear of the unknown. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know why it was after me. And I still think about this dream to this day. I feel like that this one creature has some kind of bigger meaning. I'm not entirely sure what that meaning would be, but I do find it kind of interesting I still recall that dream to this day. You're all probably going to think I'm a psychopath for saying this, but you remember the character I made, Quentus Demania, from my webcomic series, The Incarnation of Quentus Demania, which I'm remaking into an animatic series for Gothic Wolftale. Quentus is the antagonist of that series, and his main shtick is that he would always use blood to gain more and more power. He's gotten a bit popular to the point where other people started to make fan art in their own recreations of Quentus, just like Alice Darkson and Jack Shadron of that same webcomic series. However, in the webcomic series, he had a full body, and he looked sort of human despite the fact that it was obvious that he wasn't human. And his personality was more, he was emotionless, he didn't care about anyone else, and it was obvious that he wanted to toy and manipulate with everyone before he ends up taking their blood. But the Quentus that inspired this Quentus dates back to the year 2013 of January, before I even wrote the original creepypasta, The Origin of Quentus Demania, that started it all. During that point in time, I was going through a massive depression, and it didn't really help that I was going through a hard time with the school I was going to. Well, how old was I? 16. I was 16. So it was definitely not easy for me, and I was going through a rough time. But the weirdest thing that bugged me the most is that I had this dream all the time, where either someone I cared about either broke my heart or tried to kill me. And at the end result, I'll always be at the end of this metal hallway with blood pouring down and broken pipes. And at the end you could hear his voice and his unmoving face, which inspired the face of the Quentus Demania in the webcomic. His face is that he has a big smile that never moves or changes. Blood pouring out of his mouth and eyes, and teeth that are basically stained by all the blood, and in fact he never moves his mouth at all. His teeth can be somewhat disfigurated, but at the same time somewhat straight, and you can mistake it for straight from a distance. His eyes are perfectly circled, with red irises, and blood also coming out of them, but the pupils are so small you could barely tell that he even has pupils, and he has his red ominous glow always following him. And at one point, and you're all probably going to think I'm one of those people that's just like, oh, I love being haunted, oh, I died once, but I'm still going to be cheerful about it, like those people that constantly say that stuff for attention, or act like they're cool or badass by saying it. But at that point in time, I literally felt like I was losing my mind because of Quentus. It got to the point where my friends and family got concerned, and whenever I talked about Quentus, they hated it. My friends and family hated the idea of Quentus Demania. And whenever I was making the webcomic series and I announced it, some people even messaged me asking, why is Quentus back? Is everything alright? Thinking that I was going through that same depression as before, and because I was making the webcomic in 2014. I appreciate the messages, but I honestly got over and I realized Quentus is just a figment of my imagination. In fact, I used him for inspiration for the incarnation of Gorgeous Demania. So there's a lot of good that came out of it, and a lot of bad, definitely. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you think I'm a psychopath and you want to unsubscribe, you're totally okay to do so. I'm giving you permission. Not to say you need my permission to do so, but I'm just saying, if you think I'm a psychopath, that's normal. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, maybe favorite, and subscribe if you'd like to see some more. If you'd like me to do a video like this again, you can put your comments down below, or you can call me a psychopath. Just because, you can. More power to you. Man. Anyway, we'll see fish in the ceiling, at least once in our lives.